The Joint Select Committee should demand that documentation be received today. Documentation regarding the Ocean Flower 2 and the Cabo Star. This is the view expressed by Fixin TT. Head of the group, Kirk Waite, said the Seabridge fiasco underscores the need for the effective implementation of meaningful legislation to govern procurement.
I think we believe that it's incumbent on the JSC to demand the documentation. So Ms. Lewis said yesterday that the Dun & Bradstreet report, she practically implied that it was an afterthought and that it was only used to determine whether or not there were any judgments against Bridgman. Well, the JSC must now demand all of the financial information, inclusive of audited financial, which Bridgman must have provided to the Port Authority, be made available to the JSC.
Mr. Waite referenced claims that inspections were done on the Cabo Star and the Ocean Flower 2 by a third party. He says copies of the reports from those inspections should be brought before the Joint Select Committee.
Because one is information that should be readily available. Two, the location that houses that information is literally a stone's throw away from where the JSC is being held. So before 11 a.m. this morning, the JSC should be requesting that Ms. Alison Lewis instructs her people at the Port Authority to have all that information collated and delivered to the JSC in the interest of transparency and serving the public well.
Well, on Monday, the Joint Select Committee started conducting inquiries into the procurement of the inter-island ferries. This resumed this morning at around 11 o'clock. In total, some 47 people are expected to appear before the JSC. And you can join us throughout the afternoon for updates on what's being said at the Joint Select Committee. Former Minister of Energy Carolyn Sipasad-Bachan says the appointment of Selwyn Lashley to the Board of Directors of Petrotrin presents a serious conflict of interest and must be revoked with immediate effect. Mr. Lashley is also the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Energy. In a statement, Mrs. Sipasad-Bachan noted the Ministry of Energy is the line ministry responsible for policy mandates of all state-owned energy companies, inclusive of Petrotrin. She noted Mr. Lashley's direct task as permanent secretary includes the review of Petrotrin's investment proposals, strategic plans and annual budgets, as well as the oversight of the awarding of contracts as approved by Petrotrin's Board of Directors, a process which incidentally must be submitted to the permanent secretary himself. Mrs. Sipasad-Bachan said this appointment therefore puts Mr. Lashley in the compromising role of himself unto himself. Several concerns have been raised about the management of the Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, and now the Ministry of Education has sought legal advice on this. Last week it was revealed gate funding for the institute will not be given. Therefore, over 100 students had to drop out of the program. While not saying much on the matter, the Minister Anthony Garcia is hoping whatever is taking place would be resolved soon.
I am not in a position to reveal a lot, since the matter is now in the hands of our Attorney General, but I can tell you it relates to the management of the school. There are some issues that are related to the management of the school. I'm not in a position to reveal exactly what, but there are some issues. We are doing everything possible to resolve that issue. It is a fundamental issue that has to be resolved because I don't want to talk too much, it involves the dismissal also of a very senior official of the school.
This is a CNews Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at CNews Live. The Trinidad and Tobago Unified Teachers Association tutor is standing by statements that all schools were not ready for occupation for the new academic year, which started on Monday. Its president, Lindsley Dudai, maintains several schools were not up to the required standard, and some teachers had to leave early. Meanwhile, the National Parent Teachers Association said the opening of the new term was smooth. However, there were some minor concerns. Rishi Harinanan has more.
9 primary and secondary schools were disrupted on Monday due to non-functioning air conditioning systems, unsanitary conditions, among other reasons. And according to Zina Ramatali, president of the National Parent Teachers Association, the Minister of Education, Anthony Garcia, was right. All schools did open for the new term, but in some cases, they were forced to close early. She highlighted one school which is being very badly affected.
But when I got a call from Princeton East indicating that for the last 5 years, because of that air conditioning system is down, the children going home at 9 o'clock. Well, yesterday they were sent home at 11 o'clock. And then the heart-wrenching news that 11 out of 64 students, received 5 or more passes. That is heart-wrenching to us as a national association.
She said she hopes all those schools where children have been forced to leave early are given the necessary attention as the children's lives are being badly affected.
So I am hoping that, the Ministry of Education and other ministries, could look at what can be done to prevent, our children from any further, suffering. Because obviously, these children, when they are sent home every day at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, we don't know where they are going. They are unsupervised. Where would they be 5 or 10 years from now?
And Tutor maintains all of the schools were not ready for the new term, despite what has been said by the Minister of Education.
While some schools will not have closed their doors to students and they will have had school continuing, some of those schools operated in less than ideal conditions. And in some schools, as the release that we put out yesterday showed, teachers would have left in some schools, left some of the schools because of health and safety concerns. In one or two other circumstances, the Ministry of Education would have closed the schools.
Mr. Dudai said his union will continue to monitor the situation at various schools and update the public accordingly. Rishi Harinanan, CNews.
And now for the weather. Sunny periods will be interrupted at times by intermittent showers in varying localities. There is the high chance that 1 or 2 of these showers will become heavy and thundery and be accompanied by gusty winds. Tonight will be mostly clear with 1 or 2 overnight showers. Well, here's an update. Hurricane Irma has intensified into an extremely dangerous Category 5 hurricane. The National Hurricane Center says, citing the latest data from NOAA and Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft, with maximum sustained winds of 180 miles per hour, Irma is a Category 5, the most serious type of major hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson wind scale. Storm preparations are being rushed to completion in the Leeward Islands, where the first tropical storm force winds could arrive later on Tuesday. Irma is currently forecast to hit the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico on Wednesday before continuing on toward the Dominican Republic and Cuba. And earlier today, Tropical Storm Jose formed. It was formed in the Atlantic Ocean with winds of 40 miles per hour. A movement toward the west or west-northwest at a slightly faster rate of forward speed is expected during the next 2 days. Maximum sustained winds are near 40 miles per hour with higher gusts. Some strengthening is forecast during the next 48 hours, and Jose could become a hurricane by Friday. Jose is moving toward the west-northwest at about 13 miles per hour. Well, back at home, the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries is urging fisherfolk to exercise extreme care at sea and take immediate precautions to secure marine assets. This follows the announcement by the Meteorological Service that long-period ocean swells are currently affecting the coastlines of the Caribbean region, including Trinidad and Tobago, as a result of Hurricane Irma. The ministry said it is monitoring TTMS bulletins and it has advised county officers of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries to monitor developments in their respective regions. The ministry noted its interagency response team, led by Mr. Barry Mahabir, is on standby to provide assistance to fisherfolk should it become necessary. The Registrar General's Department in Irma has been closed until further notice. This from the Ministry of the Attorney General and Legal Affairs. It said this closure is due to unforeseen circumstances. The public can access RGD's services at their head office, Port of Spain, and sub-offices at San Fernando and Tobago. A 17-year-old girl has been reported missing, and the police want the public's help in finding her. Nikit Taylor was last seen at her Susulands San Juan home on Wednesday, 16th August. She was reported missing on August 22nd by her mother. Nikit is of African descent, 5 feet 1 inch tall, slim-built with a dark brown complexion. And police are also looking for 17-year-old Mary Mahabir. She was last seen at her Beddoe Street, Gasparilla home on August 24th. She was reported missing on August 25th. Mary is of mixed descent, 5 feet 3 inches tall, medium build, and has short black hair. Also, police are searching for 15-year-old Isaiah Webb. Isaiah, a pupil of the Diego Martin North Secondary School, was last seen at his Bagatelle Diego Martin home at around 7:50 a.m. on Monday, 4th September. He was reported missing that same day. Isaiah is of African descent, 5 feet 7 inches tall, heavy built, with a light brown complexion and short black hair. He was last seen wearing his school uniform, white shirt and navy blue pants. Now, anyone with information on these missing persons are asked to contact the police at 555 or 999. While only nationals of Trinidad and Tobago can become the next police commissioner, the process to appoint the top cop and his deputies kicked off on Monday. Attorneys and members of the Police Service Commission spoke with CNews and gave a breakdown of the process of selecting the police commissioner. Here's Marie-Therese Bernard.
As the search for a new Commissioner of Police kicked off on Monday, Attorney at Law Martin George says there's nothing easy about this process.
It is easier in this country to appoint a Chief Justice, a Prime Minister, a President. It's easier to appoint to any of those offices than it is to appoint a Commissioner of Police, because it's been years now that this process has been in play. We've had several court actions, we've had delays. It appears that we place much more emphasis on the rigor of this process than we do for any other office in Trinidad and Tobago.
However, the procedure is being guided by the law, and a firm authorized to assist them in their recruiting work is on board. The entire process is said to be rigorous in order to capture the most appropriate candidate.
We have several layers to our vetting process. We have security vetting, we have a medical health and fitness vetting, then we also have psychometric testing. We are also going to be using assessment centers. So it's a multi-layered system whereby you end up screening and screening and screening until you end up with a shortlist of the best possible candidates.
The Police Service Commission remains in direct control of the recruitment of a top cop, and Mr. George says that according to the law, only a native of Trinidad and Tobago can apply.
If you look at the current legislation, the person must be a national of Trinidad and Tobago. You could be resident abroad. So in other words, you could be a foreign-based national and you can apply. But we have limited it now in the sense that we are looking for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago.
A time frame has been worked out but could be disrupted by the number of applicants for the post. Mr. George makes it clear the PSC will not sacrifice due diligence on the altar of expediency. Marie-Therese Bernard, CNews.
2 men employed with Swissport, a ground handling agency at the Piarco International Airport, were granted $150,000 bail each when they appeared before an Irma magistrate on September 1st. They were jointly charged with conspiracy to traffic 4.4 kilograms of cocaine to Toronto, Canada on August 20th. Rico Guevara, 27, a security officer of Filipino settlement Irma, and Kirmac Hodge, age 23, a cargo handler of Bonaire Gardens, Aruca, stood before Magistrate Brian Debidine to answer to the charges. The matter was postponed to Friday, 22nd September 2017. The drug, which has an estimated street value of $2 million, was found concealed in boxes of pepper aboard a flight which originated from Trinidad on Sunday, 20th August 2017. Chief Secretary and Secretary for Education of the THA, Kelvin Charles, has announced the introduction of an instructional coaches program for primary schools in Tobago. Under the program, Mr. Charles's division will employ 6 reading coaches and 6 mathematics coaches to assist in improving the levels of literacy and numeracy at the primary school level.
Signaled some time ago that I planned to improve our education system, and more particularly to begin at the level of the primary school. In fact, there were too many students who were underperforming in respect of literacy and numeracy. And of course, this was underscored by the kind of results we would have gotten from the CE exam.
Well, we start with news of cricket. It's the Caribbean Premier League Finals week here in Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight, the Trinbago Knight Riders, who topped the table after the group stages, will battle Evan Lewis at the second place St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots in the playoff match. The winner will go straight to the final on Saturday night at the Brian Lara Stadium. According to TKR captain Dwayne Bravo, this has been a good season for TKR and a very competitive one among the top teams. But his team has no intentions of changing their game plan during this crunch time.
Well, not much we can do. We play 10 games, so all of us are aware and what we have to do in order to get to the finals. It's nothing new. Most of us as cricketers been in this position before, so it's just a matter of taking it just as another game. Yes, it's playoffs, the knockout stage, but it's another cricket game. So we have the same attitude, the same energy. Once we approach it the same way, hopefully we get the results that we're looking for.
Well, TKR were dealt a blow and Brendan McCullum was ruled out of the remainder of the tournament with a broken bone in his hand, sustained on Saturday against the Barbados Trident. Bravo says that's a huge loss, not just for TKR, but for the entire tournament. William Perkins will now replace McCullum, and Bravo is hoping the local player will seize the opportunity given to him.
Skills definitely will be missed. Very nice guy, the team will miss him for sure, and I think after we hear the news after the game that he's out of the tournament, I think that the team made a pledge actually to go on and try to win the tournament for him. He is one of the main reasons we get this far.
Well, to basketball news now, Trailblazers must be thinking they had been disadvantaged when they lost to Defense Force in Game 1 of their Big Four best-of-3 semifinals on Sunday. Fabrice Fisher was fouled out in the first half after getting hit with a technical foul. Ian Wason was at the game.
Trailblazers were going toe-to-toe with Defense Force early in the game. Anton Trim with this 3 to give them a 3-2 start. And another 3, this time from Fabrice Fisher, as he drew the foul to complete a 4-point play. More from Trailblazers. Conrad Griffith making his presence felt in the paint. Trailblazers were trailing 29-33 at this point. But it got worse when this happened. Fabrice Fisher was called for his 4th foul, and after reacting got hit with a technical. 5 fouls and you're out, leaving the game with 8 seconds to go in the first half. Disappointment for the Trailblazers. After that, it was all Defense Force as they took advantage, 49-42 at this stage. When Rian Wilson showed his strength and determination in the paint, it was 53-42 and a gap was starting to develop. And Isaiah Williams' 3 in the dregs, coupled with another 3 from Jamil King, to take the game 82-68. After the game, Fabrice Fisher was still not happy about the technical foul call.
Well, that changed the whole game because the referee made a call. And just because I react to my bench, gave me a technical on top of the foul to foul me out of the game. But the game was close because he realized he could not stop me. And they say what how it has go, we had to wait until game 2 to play. But we just I guess we had to get better officiating or something. Because to tell you the honest truth, basketball can't go nowhere in this country.
Game 2 is on Saturday. Ian Wason, C Sports.
Well, that's it for sport. And that's a wrap for our C News at Noon report. I'm Karen Kuze-Philip. Remember, for up-to-date and breaking news throughout the day, you can visit the C News website at ctvtt.com. Do have a good afternoon.